Hey, how's everybody doing? We just put out a short video on the Internet Global channel, but I'm following this up with something more in depth. I just wanted to talk about this because a historic event is underway. And it's one of those natural things like weather. Okay, and some people in the insurance industry and that kind of mindset call it an act of God. So I don't know which God they mean. God is very generic. However, I can tell you that this is a combination of forces is taking place. Those which are physical based on the earth, and those which are in the air and the water, especially the energies that are contained in those elements, the energies that flow and circulate through the large bodies of water and through the large body of air, which is really just undifferentiated until it divides itself, like you've got fronts and everything. So this is meteorology. But it's more than that. I want to tell you that this is from spiritual forces that are at work. And if a disaster is to be caused, then the question becomes, why are we being punished like this? Why is this happening? Is there some socio reason? Is it a collective thing? Is it supernatural in some ways? So let's not get into that, like debating it or philosophizing more. Let's just say that this is a huge bringing together of energy and forces, which on the surface, it looks like weather. So let's just talk about it in those terms. But then we've got to continue on to say, oh, the weather causes this. It causes all these things to happen. So if you went through this historic event, you have a memory, something that affected your life about it. You might have had to change your plans. It might have wrecked something. You might have lost a family member. That's what happens during these disasters. And, not everything can be blamed directly. It cannot be like a direct blame. Oh, the blizzard did this. But it's a combination. And the blizzard seems to be at the center. This is being exaggerated in a lot of ways. I've read a few articles stating that it's going to be like one of the top 5 weather disasters of certain regions, including the Washington, D.C. region and the Middle Atlantic and possibly the mountainous region. Have they seen storms like this? Have they seen snow accumulations like this? Well, yeah, during certain winters. I've driven through the area many times. As you can see at the center of the map, it shows you the storm prediction, the snow accumulation prediction. So I've driven through this region. I think this is another map. We're going into Saturday, and they're talking about the wind potential. This is a very interesting map. You can see that the wind goes into the coastal area, and it's not going to get too far inland. But there's another interesting image here. This image is animated, so let's take a look. Maybe I can view the image. Can I pop the image out? I don't know. It says open a new link. It's not going to work right now. No, that's not going to work. This one says view the image. Let's see if that... No, that's not going to work either. But the one way I can blow it up is by browser control. I do have that right now. And it keeps resizing it. Oh goodness, look at that. Now, it's a little bit grainy, but I think you can see and get my idea here that it's showing a vortex pattern. And what you see with all those lines are vortexes. Vectors. Confusing vortex with vector. So vectors are lines of movement, lines of energy transfer. It's just directional. So each one of these vectors is showing you which way the wind blows. And you see that it's got this huge eye off the coast of America. You can barely see. It's got some like coastal definition there. You can obviously see up above there's the Great Lakes. Wait a second. I should have done the mirror image on the webcam. This is not what... Technical people, get on this. Now, as I'm talking, you can just kind of get to understand this wind movement. The winds are going to be like really bad in certain areas. Really bad. Especially, like I said, near the coast. It's going to be crazy. A lot of these maps, imagery, are drawn by Weather Channel. That's what comes up when you search. But here's an interesting one. This is CNN Weather Department. So they're painting a bullseye to the west of Washington, D.C., up in the mountains there. And I know that area very well. That's the Shenandoahs. And there's a lot of horse farms out there. And I have some friends. There's Winston, I think. Winston, Virginia. There's Wheeling, West Virginia, across the border. The state border runs right through the mountains there. It's beautiful country because it's natural and wilderness and a lot of trees. It's very quiet. There's no major cities. You can go through there, and you get to West Virginia. There's Wheeling. There's a few other cities, but not so close to this where they paint that bullseye. You see, like where it's the purple. It's the darkest part in the center. Now, look at the magenta. You would call it the magenta area. The darker magenta and the lighter magenta, and then where it extends out to the pink area. This is going to be pretty bad because it's from 2 feet to about 1.5 feet, and a little bit, still over a foot though. That accumulation is going to be all southern Pennsylvania, all of West Virginia, most of inland Maryland, eastern Kentucky, next to West Virginia, and the majority of Virginia also is going to get hit. And then also the western side of North Carolina, like down into Asheville. Asheville may or may not get hit pretty bad. And the only part of like Virginia that's not in the mix here is the coastal part, like down to Virginia Beach and such. So we'll have to see. But they are going to get wind. And that arm of Virginia that comes off of Maryland and Delaware, that whole region is going to get bad wind. What else can we say? Let's go over to the news reporting here on Google. These are all the articles. 76 million are told to stay at home. Well, that's if you're a regular average American, but I thought that some of the Americans were really rugged. You don't need to be told to stay at home. You go out if you feel like it, because you're equipped, you're rugged. That's what I like to see. But in a lot of ways, this thing is a disaster because people can't deal with it. They can't cope with these harsh conditions. But if you have the equipment, if you are a trooper, if you are a warrior, you can go out in anything. You can stay out the whole time. You could camp, whatever it might be. Just show how tough you are. Survive it. I would. I've done it many times. I'm not in this particular storm event, blizzard event. I'm not. But at least I'm talking about it. At least I'm encouraging you. Maybe I can make a strong influence on you. Get things like your equipment would include something to cover your body, shelter your body, and I want to emphasize insulation, something that doesn't transfer your heat out. You're going to need to be able to walk, because driving or using a vehicle is not going to be that easy. Although that's more expensive equipment. If you want to get something rugged, get chains on your tires, get the best possible tread that you can. Along with, your chains are going to be, chain on the tires is going to be most of it. But get a vehicle that has major cold cranking amps in the battery, the electrical system. I mean, what are the figures that we need here? Over 1,000 cold cranking amps, and get an extra battery for backup. Get plenty of fuel. Get extra gas tanks, gasoline, and a 5-gallon container. I have at least 2 of them. Bring along a Honda generator with its own gas tanks, maybe a 2-gallon or a few of those, so you can set it up wherever you go. You're going to need your own power, because don't depend on the grid. Don't, because it's going to go down in a lot of places. So I could go on and on and on about how you do, and that's the same thing as prepping. That could be the same mindset, the same skills as a prepper, because you have to survive. You have to do it on your own. The whole system is being shut down. You can't have electric. Your boiling water's probably going to go away. You'd have no hot water. What about your food supply? You got to have your own, because the stores are going to be closed. Or everything off the shelf is going to be sold out. So this is definitely something that can be compared to prepping. It's part and parcel of the same thing. Whether you call it that, or whether you call it disaster preparedness, or dealing with this disaster, the weather event, this blizzard, it doesn't make any difference. That what you're doing, and you're going through the motions of survival and being rugged and being tough, it's the same. You're also going to use the same equipment. You're going to need possibly flares as warnings, or as a SOS signal. You're going to need possibly weapons. You're going to be needing, like I said, it's a cold event, so you're going to need to heat up things. Blow torches, I don't know. Just heaters. One of those big blow heaters that they use in garages. They burn fuel. Those are not electric usually. You could have one of those. You could heat up an area that you get into if you're on the move. Or you're going to have a shelter. That's a whole other thing. That's a whole bunch of other equipment. That's a building. That's a structure you're going to have to build and get it ready ahead of time. So there's a whole world of activity that goes along with these disasters. And especially if a disaster is prolonged. We're going to talk about that in another video. Of course, we already went over this. How much snow will there be? Snow accumulations. Monstrous blizzard. Flight cancellation. Washington's going to be shut down, immobilized. And also anything near, probably Baltimore. Philadelphia is going to get it pretty bad. And the smaller towns inland, getting around the Appalachians. And also, I mean, we're not sure exactly how bad. We know it's going to be bad in Maryland, but the parts of Pennsylvania, we're not sure. So, it's already wreaking havoc, and that was a report a little while ago. So this winter storm is underway as I'm speaking, as I'm doing the video. I'm not predicting it. I'm not doing it days ahead of time. This is as it's going on. I wanted to say that because I like to date things every time I do it. Here's a Washington Post article. So they have a weather department also, and they're really painting this as a major event, a crippling storm. And they give their own map. I think the source, I'm not sure what it is. You can see the logo there. Looks like WX Bell. Yeah, weatherbell.com. So they're getting it from that organization. A dangerous and historic snowstorm is closing in. It is one that we will remember for years, if not generations. That's interesting. That's quite a statement. Let's take a look what else they say. This is coming from the Washington Post, as you can see up here in the URL box. Verified by Entrust Inc. A blizzard warning takes effect at 3 p.m. and continues through early Sunday morning. Wow, so that's, what is that, almost 48 hours? Because this article was put out on Friday morning. So yeah, that's almost a 48-hour warning in effect. It says this phrase, shelter in place. Of course, people in the city are really not prepared. Kind of watered down people. If you go out to the wilderness and you're out there like a redneck or something, the preppers, they're not going to shelter in place in the city. They can roam around, they can hunt, they can do all kinds of things out there. But anyhow, let's be reasonable. In the city, you're going to be experiencing this in the comfort of your homes and your apartments, and you can even watch this video, probably, if you still have a signal, and if you still have electric to run your computer. But if you don't, you'll watch it the next day. I know that's maybe Sunday night or Monday. You can watch it. So it's just a delay of a few days. However, what they're talking about is it's going to take more days to clear this up. So a lot of that has to do with snow removal. A lot of it has to do with repairing the electric lines that are going to go down. And some of it's going to have to do with gas lines for the heating and the cooking. The natural gas, what they call natural gas. It's not natural, folks. But what they have is all throughout the city. That's how you get the fuel to your house. Also for heating. And the days are going to be taken up repairing the water pipes, any of the plumbing that is going to be bursting, the section of plumbing that will freeze or because it's not circulating. That's why I don't like to waste water at all, but if you get to a really deep, sudden freeze or a prolonged freeze, you're supposed to keep your faucet dripping. Let it drip like maybe twice a minute. You gotta time it. You like open your faucet just a little bit, goes drip, and then wait, drip. It doesn't need to go drip, 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 drip. That's too much. You don't need it that much. So just let it drip slowly so that the water's moving a little bit. This article is pretty impressive. They conclude with this statement: this is a storm that is destined to place into the top 5 in DC history, says Wes Junker, Capital Weather Gang's winter weather expert. That's the department that wrote this article. The only question is where on the list we end up. So he's talking about this blizzard event, and that's quite a prediction and a claim that it's going to be into the top 5.